Despite what their moms told them, they just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot and really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Now, those two unapologetically biased orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. Happy Sunday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe at Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there, join the militia. Syracuse football is 3-0 for the first time in 4 years. And a Rodney Gadsden catch in the end zone with 7 seconds left to spare in the fourth quarter put the Orange up 31-29 before the extra point. And Syracuse would score 22 points in the fourth quarter to pull off the win. So, I'm sorry, it wasn't 22 in the fourth quarter. Yes, it was 22 in the fourth quarter. So I was right. You'll hear from us, and we'll hear from you in fan feedback. And it has been all day trying to get this show off the tarmac. So hopefully, without any issues, we should be able to move forward. So I know everyone's excited. Fan feedback was pretty blown up yesterday. That's a whole nother story. Yeah. Joe's been having to work the Facebook page because I am on restriction for in Facebook jail or whatever because my account was hacked and they did all kinds of they broke all kinds of rules, Joe. So I suffer for it, and you can't contact anyone in Facebook and tell them what's going on. So there's no contact us anything anywhere that I know of.
Right.
So anyways, I decided, you know what? I'll just do my time, and I only use Facebook for the podcast, but I would suggest if you're not on Twitter to go there because I've never ever had a problem on Twitter, despite other people having issues with Twitter. We never have had a problem on Twitter, and
right.
If you're not on Twitter, I would go there because I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to put up with the people over at Facebook. As most of you well know, if you've listened to the show for any amount of time. All right, so let's hear from us, and then we'll hear from you. But first, as always, we're going to listen to what Coach had to say immediately following the win.
I just thought that we have to be patient, and, Tucker has to be patient. It's frustrating not to see him do what he's done because we're very capable of what he can do. But they had a good game plan. They were giving us certain things. And if you really go back and watch the tape, which I'm going to do 3 or 4 times, it seems every time that we acted like we were going to give him the ball and did something else, that good things happened to us. So he affects the game in more ways than just by rushing yards and passing yards. He's somebody that you need to have an eye out for on every single play. It's more latter, just having a really good game. I wouldn't consider it that, but Rondé is very, very skilled. His dad was an NFL guy, and he walked in here with a lot of skills. Coach Johnson has added a lot to those skills, and when you're in the offense with Coach and I, and with Garrett doing the things that he's been doing, throwing the football, that it's going to be electric. That 4th and 1 was interesting. And once again, I might be mistaken, but I thought we faked the ball to Tucker. And I knew it was a fake. And then I'm like, did they just give him the ball? That Tucker was doing such a fantastic job acting like he had the ball. And then I want to say that was a 3rd read by Garrett, but I could be wrong. But I think it was his 3rd read going back to Rondé. And then Rondé did some Michael Jackson type moves, getting that thing in the end zone down by the sideline, which was exciting to see.
Coach, just to speak to the grit of this team, especially in the second half, that every time there was any positive play by Perdue, you always had an answer for that, and obviously in those last few seconds of the game, we're able to close it out.
Well, I would like to say we're lucky, but I think that, you make your own luck. And these guys have really prepared. They've really changed what they do at night. And they may not have changed what they're going to do tonight, but they've really changed what they've normally done at night, and they're really focused about giving their best performance on game day. And so far, so good. Their best performance has been good. Not perfect, even though the record is perfect. The performance hasn't been perfect, but it's been more than good enough for the record to be perfect. I think it was just two teams really wanting to win. And the thing you guys got to understand is when our quarterback gets hit more, and I'm not talking about from drop pass rushes. I'm talking about he actually runs the football, so sometimes he gets hit and he needs a little time to catch his breath. But I just thought it was two defenses that were playing outstanding football, two offenses that were really calculating on when they could get their opportunities to take a shot. And then if you watch the game, even though everybody's shot didn't happen, there were shots taken. I mean, we were going for it, they were going for it. Sometimes it happened, sometimes it didn't. I thought there was 2 or 3 deep balls with Deuce and Jihad, and I mean, where those balls were like, is it PI, is it not PI? I mean, I just thought it was a great game. Now, somebody's got to tell me what happened with all those penalties on the sideline at the end, because it looked like the same thing as last year where I got in trouble for saying dang it, and no one ever came over and said anything to me, but it worked out in our favor, but I really didn't see it because I was focused on what was going to happen next, supposedly, on the football field. I thought Schrader, that's what guys do, that's what leaders do, they battle, okay? And if you're an A student, you don't get an A all the time, you get an A most of the time. And his first 2 games I thought were averaged out to an A for sure, and if this game averages out to a B, so be it. But when you have someone that's like a pitcher who's not bringing their best stuff, but they still find a way to get people out, they still find a way to clear the bases and not allow you to score runs, or in football, he finds a way to get his team in the end zone, that's called leadership, and I'll follow that all day long.
Coach, the secondary struggled a little bit today just from splash plays with Charlie Jones and some of the receivers on Perdue. What's the message to them to improve on some of those one-on-one matchups going forward?
The secondary did not struggle today. We gave up a lot of passing yards to a really, really good wide receiver who's a transfer from Iowa, who's not only did good things against us, he's probably going to be a first or second team All-American if he doesn't get hurt, and I hope he doesn't, because it just goes to show what kids can do when they really get hooked up with a quarterback that they believe in, and they go out and work countless hours in the summer. That kid is good, okay? You can say whatever you want. That kid is really, really good. And I think what we saw was the first of many battles of our corners versus really good wideouts, okay? And some people are going to get help. You know, our safeties, we can give them help. Our linebackers, we can give them help. Our D-line, we can give them help. You will get no help playing corner at Syracuse University. If you really want to be on an island where people drop off food and you're all by yourself, okay, come play corner here, because there's no one to help you. And sometimes they're going to win, they're gunslingers, and sometimes they're going to lose. But our corners, they normally win more than they lose, and that's what we need them to do if we're going to be successful on defense.
All right, a little long-winded there. It was a difficult press conference to pin down. Coach has a way about giving the longest answers possible. So, and when you try to edit it down, you take away some of the context of it, I feel like. So, anyways, that's especially tough this morning when I went and did that. So, anyways, let's start at the top, Joe. Tucker, look, clearly Purdue's game plan on defense was to not allow Tucker to do anything. And they did a pretty good job. I would say they did an okay job. Because, I mean, like Coach said, to his point, even when he doesn't have the ball in his hand, the idea of him having the ball in his hand, whether he does or he doesn't, it keeps the defenses on their toes. And if that's their game plan, it's going to create issues either way. And that's just because he's just that player. They're focused on him. He affects the game whether he's running like we're used to seeing or not. He struggled a little bit yesterday, a lot bit. I mean, he had enough carries to do more than 18 carries. You expect, he should be greater than 100 yards most of the time. But yesterday was not the case, Joe. So with that said, thankfully they were able to pull this thing off with Schrader having to do a bit more than he normally would have to.
No, yeah. And that's, again, what's going to happen when you have a Sean Tucker. You saw that they try to take that away, and kudos to their back end safeties and stuff, and some of their corners. They had some good plays, and it took a little while for us to figure it out as far as how to get some guys open. As you notice, the Arande Gadsden stuff, both times it was a situation where he lined up to the right and kind of crossed the field into the open area because they kind of cleared it out for him as far as the receivers on the other back end. So that was kind of the play that was working and some of the things that were working, because I'll tell you what, I mean, they definitely weren't letting Tucker do anything. That's why Schrader got 83 yards off 17 carries, because they were basically forcing Sean Tucker to Garrett Schrader to beat him and, get hit. And hopefully they figured out that they'd wear Garrett Schrader down in the game. And, in the first half, that's kind of what it looked like. A lot of times he just couldn't get the ball out of his hands, whether his receivers were covered or, the offensive line wasn't allowing. I mean, there wasn't a lot of pressure, but there was, right?
He held yes, but there was plenty of times where you're like, do something, because he did, the offensive line was doing a pretty damn good job, a bunch. And you can only hold for so long. I mean, there was multiple times where he's back there like going through his progressions and going, okay, all right, what are we going to do? And, sometimes he'd take off. I mean, he took a couple pops. Yeah. He took a couple pops doing that. But I thought all in all, the offensive line just did good. I think for just as far as Schrader goes, well, we'll get to it. We'll get into it. So don't say too much because it's down the line. Gadsden, Joe, stepping up. He's leading the team in rushing now. I think he's got 193 or something like that totaled. That's according to ESPN for the year. And 112 yesterday, but obviously clutch, right? So the big one really, the 4th and 1, and the patience of him kind of slowing down and stutter stepping and waiting for that blocker to kind of get in front of him to be able to cut and get into the end zone was tremendous. I thought it was freaking tremendous. I rewound it to see exactly what he did. And then I think, when my wife came home, she watched the 4th quarter. I was on the phone with you when we were talking about that, but
right.
I watched it again, and it's just, I mean, that was amazing.
It's a great play.
It was a great play, and that was the clutch play. Well, I mean, there were so many, right? So Caleb Okechukwu with the pick six. I mean, obviously huge. I mean, there's so many huge plays in that game, and you go into the 4th quarter at 10-9. And you end up at 32-29. A lot happens. There wasn't a fake. Coach thought there was a fake to Tucker. I didn't see a fake to Tucker, but it was his 3rd read. His first read was Tucker coming out of the backfield, actually. And then I'm not sure where he went, but Gadsden was his 3rd read, and just a tremendous effort by Gadsden, like I said, to be patient like that, slowing down a little bit to find a path. And huge, coming up clutch. Is Gadsden. And Coach had, I edited it out because this montage was pushing almost 8 minutes, but he had some good things to say about Gadsden as far as his abilities on the field and catching the ball and things like that. So, we had a group text with Tyler yesterday. He mentioned, he's still a little worried about the receivers. I don't know. I don't know if I would go there yet because of the success that we've had through the first 2 games. One of those games being Louisville was pretty good. So I mean, I don't know. I would keep my powder dry on that for now. But yesterday it doesn't matter. It was kind of ugly, but they came through, and Arande Gadsden coming up big.
Yeah. I think that the first half. I mean the thread in the conversation we talked to and Tyler was during halftime, and there was nothing in the first half that showed you that our receivers were playing that well. Purdue was very, very good at. I mean, Schrader did get away sometimes, but they did bottle him up other times as well. And I think that they brought a lot in the box to take Tucker away, and also the short kind of timing routes that I think Schrader's been really, really good at completing. And that's why, that's one of the things when you're not at the game and you're on, watching on the TV, and the way that the cameras and angles play is that, yeah, it looks like Schrader is in the pocket like, just he can 1, 2, 3 and then get it out. But what you don't see what's happening with coverage. The receivers and the deep. Yes, exactly. And so, Purdue played a different type of defense to stop a running game. And someone that they're talking about has a chance Heisman, and he could have passed Ernie Davis, last night.
Yeah, came up a little short.
He came a little short. He's eventually going to do it, but I'm just saying, like, they came in to stop that, and they were playing up. And when we played, we were playing back, and we were kind of giving them what they could take, and it's a completely different game. I mean, we were playing a defense to allow them to get the ball 1, 2, 3 and get it out and get those short passes, keep everything in front of us. Purdue, they were basically forcing us to throw it downfield like we did the couple touchdowns that we did get. And I don't know if it's just we didn't get separation or Garrett Schrader didn't want to pull the trigger earlier, take the chances. But, it was first half was a feeling out process. And to tell you the truth, I mean, we talked about it, but Purdue probably should have had more points. I mean, I think that Garrett Schrader, he rushed the ball a little bit. We had some plays that, the double reverse pass that we missed that LaQuinn Allen either could have ran or should have been able to hit Garrett Schrader. And then there was a drive that kind of we shot ourselves in the foot as far as a couple penalties. And
the second to last drive of the game.
No, I'm talking about just the first half.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, there was a drive there where we were moving the ball, and I thought we might be able to get some points on the board. I don't know if that's when we had the missed field goal or if we just had a couple penalties and we ended up punting it. But, first half was definitely ugly for sure. But to what the coach alluded to, like halftime was good. Halftime, he said, he was looking at their eyes. They were all ready to go. They knew that they left some meat on the bone out there in the first half, and they know
they're better than that, and they know that they knew they had a whole nother half to make up for it with a killer crowd. And like Coach said, you don't make your own luck. But they were bailed out by some timely penalties. A Schrader pick ended up coming back because of a penalty, and a couple other small ones. But I feel like that was a pretty big one. And to be fair, I think the officiating was sloppy, and I don't think there was. I think we benefited from some of it, some of the sloppiness, and sometimes we didn't. But finally we kind of come on top for once as far as that whole thing goes. But we both put up we both had bad penalties that stopped drives or allowed drives to keep going. Yeah, there was some stuff that might have been missed here or there, and it was just a questionably officiated game, kind of on both sides of the ball, and at the a game like that, I feel like it's a wash. I understand kind of where Purdue's coming from. If you get boned that hard at the end of a game, you're gonna feel some kind of way, and but they kind of brought, as far as I know, they kind of brought it upon themselves. 10-9 heading into the fourth quarter. Then all of a sudden it becomes a shootout. And this brings you back to the penalty at the end of the game. And I think it was an unsportsmanlike conduct. Someone getting in someone's face, and then the coaches on the Purdue sideline didn't like that, and then they got one, so it doubled up. And I think it was just a mess. They kicked from like their 10-yard line or something like that at one point.
Yeah.
It's like there was so much that happened. There's so much that happened. You almost
in that
need
fourth quarter.
Yeah, you almost need like a timeline of events, to actually run through it and remember it. And I watched it twice. There's just a ton. So it felt like a whole game. I mean, we're talking. This game pushed 4 hours, if not pushed it. It might have been 4 hours. So.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to there's some things you can control, sometimes some things you can't control. You know what I mean? I think that we had a couple roughing the passers, and they had late hit out of bounds that kept the drive going. Like, there were things that happened, but we talked about the mistakes, right? We talked when we came in about how O'Connell and Schrader, neither of them had any interceptions coming into the game.
Mm-hmm.
And, Aiden
Schrader still doesn't.
Yeah, Schrader still doesn't. And Aiden O'Connell, as much as they picked us apart, a lot of it, like I said, was just, it was dink and dunk right in front of you. Until fourth quarter where Charlie Jones got some. And I think Deion Burks got a decent pass too there. Payne Durham, the tight end, was catching, balls down the middle all day. But, he made a bonehead, unlike Aiden O'Connell play that, ended up throwing the ball right into Caleb Okachukwu's hands, and he ran into a pick six. That was probably the play of the game. You really think about it. Even though they still came back and took the lead after that, which is insane.
Yeah, you had the Schrader hits Zay Jones with the touchdown pass, right?
Who?
Schrader hit. I think it was at the end of the third quarter when
Isaiah Jones.
Yeah. That was 10-9, right?
Yep.
And then the Gadsden play, 46-yard touchdown. That was the one where he kind of Michael Jacksoned his way into the end zone, like Coach said. You got to convert the 2-point conversion there at that point due to them missing one and you being able to, and then trying to go for it again and missing it.
Trying to get up 3.
Right. Yeah. So then now you have the opportunity to go take a 2-point conversion and go up 3, which they did, and they get that. And then one offensive play later for Purdue was that Okachukwu pick 6. So all of a sudden, this thing is looking like, wow. Syracuse is getting ready to blow them out, and then obviously that did not happen with a long touchdown pass to Charlie Jones, and then them coming back and it
was less than a minute later, a minute and a half later, and even after that, it was a situation where the play calling after that Charlie touchdown, or the Charlie Jones touchdown was not too great. We get the ball back, and they kind of just went right down the field and scored.
Yeah, and then made it a 3-point game, and then before you knew it, they miss a field goal, right? We're thinking, oh, this is great, but little did we know, and they were gonna, then they go up.
No, that's what I mean. Is that with 6:41 to go, we were up 3. We get the ball, and we have to give the ball back, and then they get it and miss a field goal to tie it, and then we get it again, and then we have to give it back to them, and then they get the ball and they go down and score with 51 seconds to go to take the lead by 4, and that all happened in less than 6 minutes. We had the ball 2 different times.
Yeah, I thought it was close to 3 minutes, but
didn't do anything with it, right? So, but then there was the bonehead play of the week, and that's where you get that tweet that I saw. There was some type of tweet on, obviously on Twitter, but it said something about how
you can see a tweet on Facebook.
The last 2 kickoffs. And the Syracuse is the craziest kickoffs ever, and he had the screenshots right next to each other of them kicking off from the 10-yard line and then us kicking off from the 35-yard line after that. And so, Purdue they lost their cool.
They did lose their cool. They did.
Payne Durham caught that pass, and just act like you've been there before, dude. You scored a touchdown, you're up 4. We need to go score a touchdown. There's 51 seconds to go.
Yeah, he's blowing kisses to the crowd, and
he was doing it all.
Showboating,
he scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. He had a great game, probably a game of his career. But you have to hold it together, and he didn't. And that's just where I don't know if the experience, the composure of our defense and our team came through, but
it's just arrogance. That's all that is. He's just poking the bear, and if you're smart, you don't do that, and maybe if it's the last play of the game, then you do it. It's, but not when there's still time on the clock like that. But that brings us to this, though. So, we talked about Tucker. He struggled. Obviously, it was a situation where, I saw a couple tweets too, like, oh, get Schrader out of the game, or Schrader's trying to do too much. Well, first of all, he didn't have a choice.
Nope.
To do too much. So there's that. And also, I would not obviously take Schrader out of the game because they struggled. There's a defensive juggernaut in the first half and the third quarter, really, too, when it comes down to it. But leaders battle, leaders find a way, and Garrett Schrader found a way. He struggled a little bit, but he found a way despite Tucker being all but shut down, and just the ability to take. First of all, he took a big hit on that last touchdown pass. He took a big hit. I mean, he got up slow, and to stand in there knowing you're going to take that hit and deliver that throw, and like Coach said, and I think Dom brought it to my attention, sent me the clip from the huddle interview after the game, and Coach talking about the boulders that Garrett Schrader has, and the dude's got boulders. There's no doubt about it. So,
dude, yeah, it's not even.
So, I would the only short of his own safety, playing injured, Schrader staying in the game for me, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is that we saw that last year on the Clemson throw where Trevor Pena caught it, and we got within 3 points. They looked exactly the same. Virginia Tech, the game-winning throw to Alford, looked exactly the same. I mean, The bottom line is that he's not afraid. He's not afraid to run the ball. He's not afraid to lower his shoulder to get extra yards. He's not afraid to get hit to get extra yards. And he's not afraid to stand in the pocket and throw a dime like he did like last year against Virginia Tech, last night against Perdue. And I'm sorry, but, I'm not throwing any shots here, but that's something that Tommy DeVito doesn't have the damn stones to do, and he's proven it before. So hopefully by this point we've qualmed the whole. Good on Tommy DeVito at Illinois starting. They look like they're have a decent start to their season, and I hope all the best for them. But I'm happy that. I'm happy that Garrett Schrader is our quarterback.
Yeah, well, Garrett Schrader was our quarterback last year because Tommy DeVito couldn't do the things that had to be done to win the games, and the guy who could do them is Garrett Schrader. So
no, and you know what, you don't have comparable. I understand that everybody doesn't have comparable like running skills and vision and all that stuff when it comes to that kind of stuff, and even when it comes to making plays. But anybody can stand in the pocket and take a hit and try to complete a pass.
Anybody
just have to be willing to do it.
Right. Okay, let's see. Coach was asked about the secondary, and he says they didn't struggle, but they gave up a lot of yards. And I think you can make that argument because of the points that could have been put on the board, especially in the first half. I mean, there was a lot of explosive plays in the first half. They go for it. So there's a couple things. I meant to bring this up when Coach was talking about you make your own luck. They were right to start the game, okay? And then I'll get back on track. But I meant to mention this. Right to start the game, they always defer, in my opinion. I know that they're trying to get out to a fast start, but they ended up going 3 and out. And I feel like it's a dagger. And at that point, I think it set the mood for the next few offensive series. And it was just, I don't know. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. I understand the point of it. But secondly, you can make the argument about the secondary not really struggling, but giving up a lot of yards because of the amount of points that could have been scored. We got carved up a little bit. Corners got tested. I think it was good for both those guys. Well, Garrett Williams really got tested, but he led a lot of yards through from a guy we knew was gonna rack up some yards, right?
So 15 targets.
Yeah, and we knew that Charlie Jones was going to be the guy, and we knew that it was going to be a situation where there's going to be some plays where he was going to be able to rack up some yards. I didn't think it was going to be 188 yards, but nevertheless, Garrett Schrader stuck with them all but once, correct? I mean, there were some long throws but Garrett Williams was right there with him the whole time. If you look back at it, and they were just excellent throws. He was putting them where only his receiver was going to be able to catch him. But them getting tested is in us winning is good, because if you think about it, just with the defensive touchdown, a block kick, and like Coach was saying, if you got a defensive touchdown and a block kick, your probability of winning goes way up, and we had both of those. So, with that said, coming into the game, we kind of knew what it was going to be. I didn't think it was going to be as bad as it was, and it was frustrating to watch at times, and you just felt kind of defeated in the first half watching it. The defense that we know can be better than that, get carved up a little bit. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I guess you can make that argument. They struggled. I mean, they struggled to some extent, let's be honest. But I understand Coach's point, and I know that's your perspective too.
When you look at this receivers as far as they go, we know Charlie Jones is who Charlie Jones is. We knew again that they were going to throw the ball. But when you looked at it, first half, I felt like first half Garrett Williams won. And realistically, when you look at the 188 yards, do you have he had a 55-yard touchdown, and then the next possession it had to have been a 40 or 50-yard catch that was deep, that he ended up tackling him on. So you're talking about 105 yards and basically, or 100 yards, let's just give him, in two throws, 100 yards and a touchdown and 2 throws. So you're saying before that he had 9 catches for 88 yards. I'll take that, all day. And Garrett Williams, on top of that, Garrett Williams tied with Mikael Jones for 10 total tackles for the day. 9 of them solo. So, and he also had 2 pass defenses as far as, playing Charlie Jones and knocking the ball down to make sure that he didn't get it. So, when you look at that and you look at Garrett Williams, 10 tackles, 9 of them solo. Deuce Chestnut, 6 tackles, 4 of them solo. And, you barely even hear his name get called because they barely test him over there. He missed 1 tackle there in the last drive where they went down and scored to take the lead. That was kind of tough. But other than that, a lot of the other ones, especially with the tight end, I know that last one to Payne Durham when they took the lead, that was Derek McDonald. He dropped and kind of went the wrong way, and there was a wide open spot. Derek McDonald messed that up, and that was, a situation where that's missing Stephon Thompson. And, for a little while there, I thought that we were going to come on this podcast and we were going to be talking about, here's the first game where we've seen to where we were missing Elmore and Stephon Thompson because, there were some zone pass plays where you could tell there were some defenders, some linebackers out there that weren't doing the right drops. And also, I can only imagine that Elmore or Rhino would have helped the run game today for Chris Tucker. Or sorry, Sean Tucker.
He did it. He did it too. Come on. It was yesterday too. Look, I agree, which is why I wouldn't even argue that. Your points about Garrett Williams. So I do agree. That he won the battle in the first half. And that goes to that's why I mentioned look, we're spitballing here. We don't know how many points would have been scored or could have been scored, but I'm telling you, to go into the locker room
17 or 20.
Yeah, to go in the locker room and 9-6 wasn't that wasn't bad. Nope. I felt fine with that at the half. You know what I mean? So
and you looked at it too at the half, and they almost had double the time of possession.
Oh my gosh,
that's double the yards. They were just completely. But again, they were playing very, very safe. Other than the 4th down that they went for that we stopped. They were playing very, very safe.
That was the other thing. Them. That was the other thing that really helped it out in the first half too. Just a great defensive stand there, but
dude, you get carved up like that. When you're on defense and you're just giving up 4 or 5, 4 yards, 5 yards, 4 yards, first down, 6 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, first down. That can get so just annoying. And there were so many times and so many things in the first half that happened where the defense just could have given up, or just gotten down on themselves because it's damn, we can't get a stop. They just keep completing passes. But they didn't, man. And then, we took advantage of it. Ben didn't break. They didn't get as many points as they should have in the first half, and then we came back, and obviously play calling and offense was a lot better in the second half.
It was more aggressive, which
and we ended up getting the yardage closer than what it was because they were doubling us up in yards. We ended up with 27 and a half minutes, and they had 32 and a half minutes as far as time of possession. So, we got that closer. Plus, we got that one turnover, obviously, for a touchdown. So, huge to be only down 9-3 going into the first half. Halftime, and going in there, and that's just a huge morale booster when you get in there. And they were ready. They could have. Purdue could have had 17, 20 points, and it could have been a different look in their eyes, and, you don't really know. But they made the adjustments. They came out and dominated the third quarter, and, the fourth quarter was what it was. And I'm still not going to sit here and say Purdue shouldn't have won the game, but however way you can get a W, Purdue kind of gave it to us. But at the same time, there was a whole bunch of plays all throughout the damn game where we kind of took it from them as well. So
yeah, and I mean, look, they did kind of give it to us. I mean, they shot themselves in the foot. They did it more than once. I mean, Aiden O'Connell,
but we still had to make plays to keep it going, right?
Absolutely, and you had to have the play at the end that won the game. You have to have that with a beautiful throw, a beautiful catch, and Garrett Schrader getting laid out right in the middle of all of it. And my only concern with the defense in the first half was, because we know how good they are, is that, you start to see some hands on hips, and then you're like, man, we got a whole nother half to play. If this doesn't change, it's going to be a big problem going in the fourth quarter, and it changed. So we didn't have to worry about it. So anyway.
Yeah, well, then that's the one thing I saw when you look at, who got in the game, and I don't know how many plays they played, but, Purdue had 6-7 more players play a snap on defense than we did. And, kudos to them and then their defensive front and their defensive rotation, the 7-8 guys that they have coming in, because they were just high energy all game. They did a great job stopping Tucker. And kudos to them. But, our defense, and especially I would say, shout out to Kevon Darton, dude. 8 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss. When you look at the top 5 tackling, Garrett Williams with 10, Mikel Jones with 10, Marlowe Wax with 7, Deuce Chestnut and Barron with 6. Those are all guys we expect to be up there, right? But then you see a Kevon Darton, who just as a walk-on earned his scholarship this off season, and he's in the backfield making tackle for loss plays.
Hurry the quarterback.
Great game, by them, and again, great game by our defense for at least, continuing to stop the run. They didn't do great on the run, so.
No, they didn't. But it is what it is. By the way, what did they rack up for rushing?
22 for 61.
Yeah,
and a touchdown.
They
had that one 15-yard touchdown.
So you got Garrett Schrader throwing down 83 by himself. So.
Right.
Anyways, and that's I think Garrett Schrader looked a little bit like last year's Garrett Schrader, but that's gonna happen a little once in a while. It doesn't matter if you, like we mentioned, leaders lead, leaders find a way to win, and he found a way to win. And it was all put on him, really. And what a way to overcome the adversity of not being able to use Tucker, which is our biggest offensive weapon. It's just, enough can't be said about it. Anyway.
No, and in the post game presser for him too, he owned how bad of a first half he had, and he had
said he wasn't prepared, right?
I don't think that he wasn't prepared as much as
said
it was
that.
just.
He said that.
Yeah, he's gonna say that he wasn't prepared, right? He also said that there was a lot of things going on. He was dealing with some stuff. So, who knows if that means that there's some personal stuff going on in the background and everything. You never know. These guys are still kids, going through stuff. So, and it really, you saw a different player from the first half to the second half, and you just saw a guy that, sorry, but when I see Schrader play, he's just unwilling to give up. He's unwilling to give up. He's unafraid to stay in there to the last second,
yeah,
and win a game. And he'll take a damn huge hit to do it. And he'll sacrifice his body to do it. And I'm sure that's why his teammates love him as a leader. and will be okay with him going 13 for 29. Because ultimately he still didn't turn the ball over, and he threw for 3 touchdowns, and they got the W against a really, let's not kid ourselves. Purdue might be 1-2, but they are a really good team.
Well, they're a couple of plays away and a couple of penalties away from being 3-0. So, all right. With that said, it's time to hear from you.
It's time to hear from you, the loudmouths from the Loud House.
All right, you guys know what to do. At the end of every game, I ask for your thoughts on said game. You leave them on Facebook and Twitter is where we go. And like I said, I'm about to have one more issue with Facebook, and it's going to be kaputs for that. So I'm done. Okay? Someone hacked into my account and racked up $700 worth of ad fees. And now there's a page stuck on my account too. I've emailed them twice. I've told them what's going on. They demand I pay them. I'm not paying them anything. And I told them, I'm not paying you anything. You locked me out of my account when I had no control over it. And they sent me alerts saying that I had suspicious activity. It was changed to Vietnamese. I couldn't recover anything because I'm having to copy and paste into Google Translate to find out how to do it because all my settings were changed. And they knew it because they sent me an alert saying, hey, we got some suspicious activity. Well, you think? I mean, there's $700 worth of ad charges that are racked up. Can we fix that and get this page off of my account? And they haven't done anything. So if they don't do it soon, I'm pulling the plug on it. And it sucks. And I wish, Joe can actually, I'm wondering if I can set it and just give it to Joe and make him admin and then delete all my stuff and never have to deal with it again.
Dude, and then they're going to ask me for the money.
No, they won't. It's my personal page is what is like, there's nothing wrong with the Cuse Militia page. It's my personal page, my personal page is wiped out. Like it's not my real name. I don't have any friends. It's not a troll page. It's for work reasons, actually. That's why I don't have a Facebook page. So, I just don't want personal things accessed or things like that. You know what I mean? Like I don't need it.
Makes sense.
So anyways, long story short, I'll have to figure something out. But if you are not on Twitter, if you do it this way, if you go on Twitter and you sign up for Twitter and you're there for Syracuse sports and you follow just Syracuse sports stuff, it's fine. It's when you get into like well, you know what? It's not fine because that's mostly what we got. Anyways, I got no advice for that. You're going to have to filter it through because some of it's agonizing. But anyway, all right, let's start with the Twitter. And this one caught my eye early, so I picked it first. So I'm bounced back and forth from Twitter to Facebook, all right? We good? Also, if you haven't already, download the Spotify Live app. Go there. To your iOS or Android store, download that thing, sign up. All you need is an email address, a username, and a password. You follow us at Cuse Militia, sign up for notifications. When we go live, you can also you can get that notification, get in the room with us. You can chat to us and talk there. You can talk amongst each other via chat, or you can request to speak, which a couple guys really like doing that. And it'd be good to just get it, spread all that stuff around. And we're going to be doing trivia. So when we get a bunch of people in there, we're going to have trivia questions. And winner even gets something. How about that? So, all right. Let's start here. At SJSYR03, this game is what defines a team. Despite coaching mistakes, defensive breakdowns, and offensive miscues, they made the plays when they needed them. The true test isn't when it's in your best the true test is when it isn't your best performance and you can still pull off a win. And when they did, go Cuse. Yeah, absolutely. I think that obviously with Joe, you're a terrible person. Okay, Joe texted me just now. And he's a terrible host. I just want to let you guys know that I cover for all of Joe's mistakes and issues on the show, And right now, that's my issue. And I don't know why that's doing that. But that noise was all me. But Joe has to use the potty. Okay? Because Joe didn't go potty before the show like he's supposed to. At SJSYR03 on Twitter. This game is what defines a team. Despite coaching mistakes, defensive breakdowns, and offensive miscues, they made the plays when they needed them. The true test is when it isn't your best performance and you can still pull off the win, and they did. Go Cuse. I think if you were to boil the game, I should have saved this one for last, but I think if you were to boil it down, that is
Boilermaker?
If you were to Boilermaker it down, that is exactly that just encapsulates, I think, everything that we watched yesterday. And I wish I would have saved that to last, but it caught my eye first, and so I grabbed it before I had to go back and find it. But yeah, there was a lot of things to fix in Syracuse isn't pulling off that win without the maturity that they showed yesterday. Right?
No, dude. Yeah, I mean there's a lot of teams that when you don't have the confidence in each other or the coaches or something, then they're not going, and the game's not going your way. They start playing for themselves, and it just gets ugly. It gets bad. But this team, you can just tell they're playing for each other. They're still trying to keep the eye on the prize, and up until the last damn seconds, they're gonna do their best, and they're gonna try. There's no quit in this team whatsoever. And again, to be able to pull this out, albeit with some of Purdue's, own, doing, or harm doing to themselves, but
we shot ourselves in the foot a couple times too.
But we did. But I guess the point that and the one thing that I kind of grabbed from this was that when you're not playing, the comment said when you're not playing your best, you still figure out a way to. Well, not only were we not playing our best, but I think we were playing against just a better team or a deeper team overall. I mean, probably that might be the best quarterback we play against this year.
That's a possibility.
That might be the best receiver that we play against this year. And to not play your best and still figure out a way to win against a team that's good. They're right there with I think some of the ranked teams that we're going to be playing that are in our conference right now. So like you said, they're 2 plays away from basically being 3-0, and they won 9 games last year, and they got an NFL quarterback, which we all saw yesterday.
Yeah, well, there's also, was it Thayer Thomas? He's another guy that scares me. I feel like he's been at NC State for.
I think there's some good receivers, but as far as the explosive receivers and stuff like that for Charlie Jones, there's a lot of receivers that to go through what he went through in the first half and then leave with trying to figure out what's up with his ribs, so he wasn't 100% anyway, and then come back and still do make those plays. I'm not so sure he catches that touchdown if Williams doesn't trip. To me, it probably would have been knocked down or possibly intercepted. But
that's true. He did trip over his own feet on the turf.
Yeah, and so that happens. But there's Perdue, although not the best team we're going to play, they're a lot better than a lot of the teams that we're going to play this year. So to not play to our highest standards and still beat a team that kind of dominated us for a good part of that game is super, super impressive.
Yep. Michael on Facebook, top fan. Glad the 4-hour commitment paid off. Cardiac Q strikes again. What a game. Crowd could have been better, though. Well, look, the crowd could always be better if there's a seat open, but that play, Caleb's interception, was all started with the crowd noise, I think, because it was loud and it got louder. So the crowd could always be better if we're missing seats. But I think I thought it was good. I wasn't upset with it as far as that goes. But yeah, 4 hours. It did not feel like 4 hours until I had to spend the last hour or so standing up and pacing. Muhammad.
No, dude.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that. I mean, I watched the first half, and then, like I told you guys, Blake had a flag football game at 2:40, so paused it at halftime. And, we had our little thing for when you wanted me to post on Facebook. And I mean, I was sitting there at 3:30 just waiting. Like I had my phone in my hand because I didn't want to miss it. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, what is going on?
Because you must have been like, dude, what is taking him so long?
And I got, and I got text messages. I was getting text messages. And like, I literally went, I would refuse to look at my phone, like at this flag football game.
So the cue was I had to call Joe. So he heard the phone ring, saw it was me. And then he wasn't going to answer it. But he was going to post the thoughts on the game. That's how that got posted to Facebook.
Yeah. So when you didn't hit me up till like 3:58, I was like, wow, like something happened in this game. And I didn't really know what it was going to be good or bad or what. But yeah, man, I didn't end up finishing that game till I think about 5:30. So that was with fast forwarding commercials, but I was right there with you. The ebb and flow of that damn second half is just insane.
Muhammad on Facebook, good win, but 100 yards in penalties is ridiculous. They need to focus on taking away from these amateur mistakes. Now,
we only had 9 for 74, but
right. Well, I would.
Talking about Perdue.
No, I don't think he's talking about Perdue. I don't believe, although he could be. But either way, the penalties, we talked kind of a little bit about it. But, I mean, Syracuse had one bad game with penalties. I don't think yesterday was terrible. I mean, it could always be better if there's a flag being thrown. But it wasn't a lot of, like, the roughing the passer was 15 yards, right? To me, it was exactly. It was questionable. In the late hit out of bounds on Perdue against Garrett Schrader, that was not questionable. That was clear. So
no, it's clear as day.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want to compare the two, but I just didn't think the penalties. I just thought the officiating was a little sloppy, and I don't think it was for or against either team. I felt like it was just sloppy on both sides. I mean, we could go back and look at things that shouldn't have been called on Perdue and things that shouldn't have been called on Syracuse. To be fair,
well, you can, and even when you look at the end there, when you're a ref and you're dealing with stuff throughout the whole game. I mean, again, we saw like that Durham dude was kind of a talker. He was kind of always flexing, doing something.
Yeah,
he caught that one pass and got his helmet knocked off and got up, acting like he was. I mean. We get it. You're a big guy. You're having a good game. But, like, act like you've been there before. That's how I always am. And that type of stuff doesn't impress me whatsoever.
He's 6'5", 255. He's a big dude. He's hyped up.
Right. And realistically, like, he could have been talking and saying stuff all game. And then you get to the end there. And, the refs could have seen that and just been like, all right, that's enough. Like, dude, enough. They throw the flag. And then the damn coach, the coach gets all fired up, which, again, the head coach is going to have to deal with that too. But that was why they kicked it off where they kicked it off from, because they ended up with 2 15-yard penalties because the coach then got upset that they called it, and it got out of hand.
Well, he got in someone's face there. I mean, that was a legit call, and no one knows what happened with the coach stuff because they didn't show it.
No. And then even after we scored that touchdown to take the lead, there was a whole bunch of craziness. And I guess Perdue, some of the guys kind of lost control, whether it was coaches or whether it was players.
It was both.
Kind of, yeah. So they lost control. There's frustration. And, I mean, look, Aiden O'Connell and Charlie Jones impressed the hell out of me, and they sat there. They were patient. They weren't talking. They weren't this. They were being paid. I mean, they made plays.
You sound like crap, by the way. Your signal must suck. You sound fuzzy.
Sorry. But they impressed me, and the rest of the team and the way that they lost their cool really didn't. I mean, I can understand being frustrated that you're about to go 1-2, and they probably had a whole bunch of high expectations as far as what they wanted to do, and it probably didn't go their way, the way that they thought they wanted to the first 3 weeks. But you can't let your damn emotions get the best of you. And to be perfectly honest with you, that's what happened with Perdue. They lost because they let their emotions get the best of them.
Yeah, they let the fans and the game itself and the referees, if they wanted to go there, because I know they would go there. They let all that get under their skin. Jeff, these are the games we lost last year. Amazing poise to the end. Just to piggyback off, if you want to juxtapose that to Purdue, like they say, it's not how you start; it's all about how you finish. We did get pushed around a little. Defense, again, is major, and the offense never gave up. Mad props for the whole team. So, yeah, I mean, they did get pushed around. They never lost their composure. As soon as Purdue started to get pushed around, they did lose their composure, and it's just that's a comparison, and that's a perfect comment to piggyback off of what we were just talking about. And these are the games. We don't win this game last year. There's no way. And it's just kind of opposite too, because you relied so much on Tucker's legs and Schrader's legs last year, right? And this year we're like, okay, Tucker can't do anything. We need to get this ball through the air, and we got to start doing it quick. And that's how I felt. But it's just a different feel. It's good to see that we're a little bit more versatile, and I think this game showed it. So, Brian,
yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. What?
No, just all I was going to say was that when you get a new offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, and all that stuff, and first 2 weeks, you got teams that are dealing with you. I don't think UConn would have beat us one way or another. But Louisville, they had to deal with some new stuff, and I don't know if their defense really knew what was coming for them. So it's definitely a different play calling situation than last year. And, we had all year to put it, or all summer to put a game plan together to figure that out. But, you get a defense like Purdue, who gets 2 weeks of seeing, tape and everything like that. Now all of a sudden, you get a good team that can kind of cover up a lot of some stuff. You can see after 2 weeks of film, you can start to see some of like, okay, well, they're successful in doing this. Let's make them do this, right? Let's take away this. Like you get to see what is working for them, try to take it away, try to make them do different things. And I think that, that's what happened. But to see the second half adjustments and to see the different play calling, and then, I think that Gadsden is really going to be the guy this year. I think that it's a situation where you're starting to see something flourish with them. And, they're going to have to figure it out, and it's going to happen as the season goes on, because now next week, Virginia is going to look at, well, what did Purdue do to be successful against this offense?
And they aired the ball.
So now
they're not going to be, I don't think they can hang like that. Virginia.
Well, again, but you're right. But what do? They take the positives and the negatives of the game prior, and they figure out what's going on. They take what Purdue used to be successful, and now, hey, we're going to do this, and now
also
we got to figure out
stopping Tucker. Yeah, no, I get your point, but I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Purdue did the things they need.
Not every defense has the personnel to cover all three. I get it.
Right.
Or even stop.
Or offense, too. Not everybody's going to be able to air the ball out like an Aiden O'Connell. It's just not.
No, when we said it was going to be a different type of game, and it definitely was, right, in the first two. And, he put up numbers, but, we won.
The game was so weird.
Guys.
Again, that's the only way for me to describe that game.
Weird.
It's weird.
And I think that we all can see a situation where Purdue could have easily won that game. And you know what, though? They didn't. And everybody thought going into this season that Purdue was going to be a loss, and it's not. And we're 3-0.
I had Purdue as a loss, but I did change it in the prediction show, and we'll get into that Tuesday-ish. But I did have it as a loss. I had him going into the Dome against Virginia at 2-1. So, but I did change it. In fairness to me, I saw the writing on the wall. So, and they almost blew it. And to that point, Orenthal on Facebook says Purdue gave us a gift. Yes. Now, we can do all of the hypothetical. This is a short, sweet comment because it has a lot of angles to it, because we can sit here and speculate, but we really don't know. But all of those back-to-back penalties that they had on those possessions to close this game out really, really did it. If Syracuse if they don't kick off from their own 10 and Syracuse has to they don't get to start from the 50. They get to start from the 25. I mean, that's I
don't know if they win that game.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I mean, we could do the ifs and buts game here, but you got to imagine that just 25 more yards makes it that much harder. You see, it came down to, going forward on 4th and 1. It came, like, everything was just like, when they needed to do it, they did it. And I just don't know, when you add another 25 yards to that field at the end of the game, they had 7 seconds left when Gadsden caught that touchdown pass. And
right.
I just don't know with how they were kind of mingling around and wasting downs and stuff at the end of that game, if they pull it off. So that's just me.
Hey, look, someone can give you a winning lottery ticket. You still need to go cash it in, right?
Yeah. Well, so I mean, that's true. I totally agree. It's like the old Earnhardt saying, you can't put a brick in a car and make it turn left. You can get a good car, but you got to turn that damn thing. So anyway,
yeah,
that I mean, it's true though. But you've got to be able to not only execute, but you're coming down to a clock management situation at the end of that game too. And it's just one of those things that it kind of like had to line up, and those penalties really helped. It just made it that much easier. Brian on Facebook, thank God the good parts made up for the bad parts. Exciting finish, that's for sure. Exciting fourth quarter. I was so pissed that we wasted about 30 seconds not calling a timeout in the last minute and a half, but it turns out we didn't need it. So I must have zoned out. I don't remember that. So I'm just going to be honest with you.
We did. I mean, we had 3 timeouts, and I don't think we used but one. But
Coach did say that the reason they weren't calling timeouts is because they were being so efficient with the time that they had, and he was saving them. So that was his excuse.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it got to a point where they even talked about it, right? But, I mean, let's put it in perspective. If Perdue has 37 seconds after we score a touchdown, I mean, are you confident that they can't get in field goal range?
No, I'm not. Absolutely not.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
You wanted some of
timeouts could have gave them
time.
So I mean, it worked. Yeah. It worked out. It worked out. That's all you can really say about it. There's so many things could have happened in that situation. We could have had some grown men or some young adults be able to handle their emotions a little bit differently, and we wouldn't even be talking about this today. But like to his point, we're given a gift. We're given a winning lottery ticket, and we went and we cashed it in.
At Oil Cuse on Twitter, great win. It's much needed. I'm surprised how easy it was for Perdue to throw the ball. Garrett Schrader is freaking amazing. He's so calm, cool, and collected. Tucker didn't have a great game. Is he lacking explosiveness? Is he hurt? So there are questions that he might have gotten hurt in the season opener. So, I mean, I don't know. I haven't heard Coach be asked about it. He wasn't asked about it yesterday. I don't know. I think yesterday was a situation where they just game planned to shut Tucker down, and the rest was left up to Garrett Schrader and the receivers, and that's what happened. I mean, maybe you would like to see a situation where, I don't know, LaQuint Allen comes in. I don't know. Is it even? It's just
no.
I know. But I'm just saying, for the sake of putting it out there, you mean you just. Because if LaQuint Allen's in the game, this is the only thing. If LaQuint Allen's in the game and you do want to get a running game going, maybe you use him to see what you can do. But I agree. I mean, you use Tucker. He's your best guy, and they know what they're going to get. And they were doing the play action stuff.
I see what you're saying.
But
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's just to try it. They could have done it, but they didn't. He didn't get a single carry.
So. Right, because a lot of times when you watch teams and you're running like a read option like that, right? If the quarterback keeps it a couple times and gets some yardage off of it, then the next time, or a lot of times, what happens is now they key on the quarterback and now the running back can get some burn, right? It didn't matter how many times Garrett Schrader ran for 10 yards or a first down, or he could have kept it every single time, because every single time they were stopping Tucker. So I can understand where you're coming from. Bringing another running back, Tucker's not in there. Now what? Are you going to actually think about taking Schrader, open up some lanes for Allen because you're not comparing him to Tucker? I mean, possibly. I think that had a little bit to do with trying to get him involved in the passing game. But I think overall, I mean, you can't not try to give the ball to Tucker, but I get what you're saying. Is realistically, it comes a point where he got frustrated. They were bottling him up.
He was visibly frustrated.
Visibly frustrated, and even like you could tell, like he had the uncharacteristic fumble, taking the eyes off of the ball on that pitch where he would have got some yardage. He would have had some yardage.
Yeah, he was looking up.
Probably would have got at least the first down, right?
Yeah.
But he looked upfield before he caught it, turned into a fumble. He was open on multiple pass plays in which Garrett Schrader couldn't hit him because he was inaccurate on some of those throws. So I can understand why he was. Why he might have been pretty, kind of upset and kind of frustrated with what he was doing. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just got to be a team player. And I think that's what it kind of turned into. I think once you got out from halftime, they got him the ball. They tried to give him the ball, and they gave him the ball a decent amount of times to try to make something happen. But at the same time, he was really, really selling getting the ball. And he, I think, bought into being kind of just, somebody who was what do they call it? Pretty much
decoy. What are you talking about?
Yes, decoy. He bought into being a decoy because it didn't matter how many times Garrett Schrader kept it and ran and got yards.
That's what Coach's point was.
Still just hitting Tucker.
Yes, that was Coach's point, was that even though Tucker wasn't out there being the normal Tucker we're used to seeing, he still made a difference because they still, just if he was in there, they focused on, which is probably why LaQuint Allen didn't get any touches, but maybe you try something with Allen in the first half when it was obviously exposed to what their game plan was going to be. So,
right.
At Tim Abbott 44 on Twitter, and I'm not a coach, so I mean, whatever. I'm just whatever, spitballing. We won the game. You could question those things a lot more if you lose, right? This is one they needed to win and to get some respect. Everyone knew Perdue was going to sling it, and we were going to give up something. Offensive game plan seemed a little questionable, but hell, it worked out. I need to go ice down now. I believe I pulled a hammy celebrating. So, yeah, Coach pulled his groin, I guess, trying to keep the kids on the sideline. And I didn't see it or hear exactly what happened, but he was trying to keep everybody from getting the penalty. Pulled his groin, so he's getting iced up.
And isn't that amazing? Like how that's become more and more like a difficult kind of thing for a coach. I just think that discipline and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the fact that as a coach you have to. I mean, Jeff Brom didn't do it yesterday. Dino pulled his groin doing it. To be in that situation where you're the head coach, you see that play, and the first thing you're thinking is, I got to stop my people from being over emotional so we don't get penalized. You know what I mean? Like, that's where we're at now. And like Brom had to do the same thing, and he was unsuccessful. And I'm sure he's going to have some conversations with some coaches this week.
Matt in the green room says LaQuint did get a touch, and we all know that he ended up throwing the ball, but he could have run, and he didn't. So he didn't have a rush.
Ran too.
He didn't have a designed rush, is what my point was. He had no touches in as far as him getting a
I know, but I would have loved to have been at the dome and actually seen that open spot. Because when I looked at it, it looked to me like he could easily ran, and Garrett Schrader could have been like the lead blocker, and he might have been able to get a touchdown off of that. But
I mean, it's possible. There was two plays that I look back on that I wish were completions. It was that one. I wish Schrader would have. He was looking back real early, and I think it slowed him down. He just wasn't where he needed to be. And the other one was the pass to Tucker. The wheel route
where he had the damn linebacker beat.
Yeah, that's too bad.
He underthrew him by about 3 yards.
Yeah. And they said, what was it, too much air into the ball? I mean, I would say I don't think it was too much air. I mean, it was not enough air.
It wasn't long enough.
Yeah, it wasn't long enough. So, anyways, let's see what else we got here before we cut off here. We are taking an extended fan feedback. So, and there was a ton of fan feedback, guys. I tried to sift through a lot of it, and I saw some of it was people who weren't even really Syracuse fans, and if you're not a Syracuse fan and you don't have really anything intelligent to say, and it wasn't mean when they weren't being mean or anything, but I'm just going to stick with the regulars at that point. At our Files 90, this team faced true adversity for the first time and met the challenge. Schrader was old Schrader, but once he got his momentum throwing, he was what they needed him to be in the second half. D did well overall, just keep Perdue within reach. Some lucky breaks, but 3-0 is 3-0. Yes. And that's to our point earlier in the show when we were talking about Garrett Williams is he gave up a lot of yards, but he was right there every play to either, except for one, to either take Charlie Jones down or, and let's be honest, he covered him enough to where, he was targeted how many times, Joe? Did you say he was targeted?
15.
15, and he caught what?
11.
11. Okay. Well,
but how many of them were right in front of him? Like, that's my whole thing is that, like, the way we were playing, we were basically trying to force that. We were hoping that they were going to be a lot more aggressive than they were. So when you watched, our defensive backs, he was one-on-one Charlie Jones all day. And like you said, he was right there all day.
He was right there, and O'Connell was throwing the balls where only Charlie Jones could get him. It's just. First of all, those guys have been. I didn't know this. I wish I had known this during the preview, but they've known each other. They grew up together.
They played Little League football and baseball together. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
so they have a little bit of a
growing up together. They were like 8. Yeah. Yeah. That's a huge connection.
He's the reason why there's a reason why he came. Aiden O'Connell as a quarterback went to the coaches and basically got him into Perdue. So, when you have a receiver and a quarterback like that, that's just like on point, then you could be an NFL receiver, you could be or a corner, you could be it's very hard to stop those timing routes and stuff, and especially when you're playing a man-to-man philosophy where it's keep everything in front of you. There was 2 plays really where I saw him get beat. Every other one that went deep, we made the plays to stop him. So yeah, good on Garrett. Good on Garrett Williams. To me, I think that performance yesterday probably bumped up the NFL stock for probably both of those players.
Absolutely, it was a hell of a performance. Our boy Mahir, he's a basketball. I was about to say usually again. He's a basketball only guy, but he says I don't even watch football like that, but I watched it with my boy Muhammad, and what a hell of a game. Yes, you're even drawing the basketball only fans in. So for all of the, the big SU football fans, you're drawing the basketball fans in. We're drawing the basketball fans in. That's huge. So when you can do that, that's a big day. Eric Dungy did the same thing, by the way, and McNabb back in the day. So I specifically remember that with McNabb back in the day because my cousin didn't even watch basketball, but he would watch football because of McNabb. So pretty cool. One more top fan, and we're going to wrap it up here. Guts, and more guts. Shout out to Perdue for taking Tucker away, and shout out to Garrett Mother effing Schrader. Some crazy flags. 49 points in the fourth quarter. It was 42 points total in the fourth quarter. But unlike years past, this team refuses to lose. Wow, just wow. It's a different team. We're heading into a Virginia game. It's a short week, Friday night in the Dome, and then you got kind of a cush little game. Hopefully, I wouldn't look past anybody, but you got Wagner at the Dome, and then you get a week off. So you're not going to have to leave home for 6 weeks really, going into Clemson, right? So, going to be, looking at I always look at the buys in the beginning of the year, and I'm like, well, you know what? That's pretty good. It's like right in the middle of the year. It's almost perfect. And I feel like the Syracuse is really going to need it, a buy then, especially heading into the latter part of the schedule. And, look, we're 3-0 and first time in 4 years, a big win, a sloppy win. I wish it was prettier, but at the end of the day, I and many others couldn't care less what it looked like as long as we come out with the W. And Purdue's fans can have all the excuses they want their team screwed them. You can only be mad at the players and coaches on your own team for acting foolish. Because I know damn well I've sat behind this microphone and blamed my team plenty of times for losses. So that one's on them. That one's on them.
Oh, yeah.
And we thank you
100%.
for it. So
100%.
That is going to wrap it up for us in the green room. Thank you, fellas. Michael, Dom was in there. Matt, Ant, our boy Tony, a.k.a. Cuse Waterboy, a.k.a. Tony, a.k.a. Ant, a.k.a.
How about
Anthony?
those betters yesterday, by the way?
The what?
The betters. You know what the over-under was on this game?
It's a 60-something, right? 61?
It was 59.
59, okay.
It was 50. 61 was the total.
61
right?
was our total. Yeah, that's right.
So
yeah.
going into the fourth quarter, it was 10-9.
Yeah.
And anybody that had that under on that 59 was like, "Let's go."
Yeah, let's go. And then 42 points in the fourth quarter destroyed that. So
I'm sure that'll be on the bad beats on Sports Center when it comes out. Scott Van Pelt.
Yeah, don't watch Scott Van Pelt. Not ashamed to say it. I'm sure he's a great guy. You know what I mean?
Every Sports Center, every week he has these bad beats where they go by what Vegas had and what should have happened. But
cool story, bro.
Sorry.
Can't wait to be back here to talk about UVA coming into the Dome on Friday, guys and gals, orange men and orange women. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.